Okay, we're going to have some fun on this one. We're going to blow some stuff up. We're going to use the explosion effects. Now, the explosion effect allows you to quickly create and animate explosion effects as it produces clusters out of the objects it's deforming, over which you have a pretty large amount of control. So I've got a logo here, and nothing fancy, just a couple extruded paths. And I am going to come over here to the deformers, and I'm going to take a look at the explosion effects. Now, take this, I'm going to drop it underneath the logo so it's a peer of these other two objects, so it's affecting these two. And I'm going to come over here to the object and take the time down. The time is what actually creates the explosion. It's the little green object here that grows. I'm going to make sure that I have the whole logo encompassed by these. Now we can just start having a look at some of the parameters. Okay, so the time, again, that controls the actual explosion. Over to explosion. So the strength defines the force used to accelerate the clusters. The value needed for a good effect depends on the size and density of the clusters. So you can just play around with that number, but I think it looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and just animate this real quick. And we're going to get into the animation in another movie, but I'm going to put a keyframe right here. Let's pull it out like that. We'll put another keyframe there. Don't worry, we'll go into how to do keyframes later. Let's go back over to explosion. So you can adjust this strength and it'll define the force used for acceleration. Decay, that sets the fall off for the strength. 0 means no fall off. 100% means that the strength falls to 0 by the time it reaches the end of the blast range, which that would be the blue. This is the blast range. Variation takes into account the strength for each cluster. So 0 is no variation. 100% means the strength can vary from 0 to twice the entered value. Take that up 100%. We take this down. That's 0. That's 100. With most of these kind of things, you just have to sort of play around with it and see if it's going to look good for your model. Direction, right now it's going in all directions. We can do it only in Y, X, Z. Get some sort of a atomic bomb looking thing going there. Except X. Only Y. Except Y. Only Z. That could be cool, depending on where you have the camera. Except Z. Blast time is sort of like strength. It affects the force applied to the clusters. The blast speed is in meters per second, so you can control that here. Let's take this back to all, so we can kind of get a look at what we're doing. Blast range, we can control the blast range right here. So that's the red one. Let's come over to the clusters. Let's go over here. Let's get in here a little tighter so we can see what's happening when this actually goes off. And right now our clusters are set to 9.99. So if these are set to 0, we're going to have these little bitty thin pieces, as you can see here. We set these up, our pieces become thicker as they explode. So that's pretty cool. And variation is going to vary the thickness of the clusters, so some will be thicker than others. All right, let's come out here. So this is a pretty cool effect. Gravity will determine how fast these things are going to fall. These are falling a lot quicker. Variation is the variation of the gravity. Rotation, rotational speed that they're going to have when they're blasting out. And then decay controls the fall off of the rotational value. So play around with this one. It's a lot of fun. You know, sometimes it's fun to blow stuff up. Okay, so that's the explosion effects, one of the very cool deformers here in Cinema 4D.